had to go vote. Vote. So today is a special election. It is probably the most important election you don't hear much about. It is the Public Service Commission. And if you've ever complained about high energy bills, utility bills, it is the PSC, the Public Service Commission, that handles that. It is a statewide elected board. They run in districts. However, they run in districts. We vote for them statewide. So that's why, at least for one of the seats, it's nobody you've never heard of before, because it's for a district up in the metro Atlanta area. But today is a primary day here in our community. We are encouraging all Savannians. Y'all know how we do. We vote. And so for those who protested, we want you to vote. Get out and vote for the individuals that you want to serve you on your on this public commission. And really, the importance of this cannot be understated or underscored enough to make sure that we have individuals that are listening to people, particularly when we complain about the utility cost that we all use. So please, polls are open at your regular polling place from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I promise you, I did it, and it took me probably about a minute and a half. It took longer for them to check my ID than it did for me to actually vote. And so go ahead, make your votes heard. We want to make sure that Savannah, Chatham is well represented. And so we hope that you will all come out and vote from 7 a to 7 p. Go ahead, take a couple of minutes and get it done. Also, we want to lift our condolences. As you know, our nation remains in mourning. We were horrified about what happened in Minnesota to a state representative and her husband as they were assassinated, and to a state senator and his wife who were injured by gunfire from someone who posed as a police officer and apparently was on a tear to be able to kill elected officials, from which allegedly there was a list of individuals. And we learned yesterday that there were actually at least 2 other homes that he went to and were not able to access the people. And so we're living in some very strange and dangerous times. And we are always very, very concerned about that. We are also checking with our state legislators here. And we'll, over the couple of days, we just want to ensure that everybody is safe. We can all politically disagree. It does not have to become tragic. And unfortunately, in Minnesota, that has occurred there. So we're thinking about all of them. Also, well, yesterday, I'm a little bit tired. We had over 100 little people join us at historic Grayson Stadium for the launch of our Mayor's Play Ball event here in the greatest city on earth. This was a partnership with Major League Baseball, with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, of which I'm a member, and of course, our world-famous Savannah Bananas and their D-League team, the Visitors. We had some great local partners, and these young people had a wonderful time in Savannah's own Grayson Stadium. Many of them had never been in Grayson Stadium, and some of them never met professional ball players. But from skill drills to sandlot games to Kona Ice, which always works out well, and awards, our youth experienced the joy of the game in a fun, safe, inspiring, and hot as Hades environment. It was hot. And fortunately, we finished just after 1 o'clock, and by 1:20, the sky had fallen in. But it was a great day. A huge thank you to the Savannah Bananas team, and certainly the Visitors. And for that, they stepped up and they served as mentors, coaches, and role models. Our kids loved every second of it, and I believe that really the players seemed to enjoy it more than the kids did. This was, young people came up and said, this is the best day of my life. And it's like, wow. So that's pretty cool that we're able to provide that experience to them. This was also possible because of incredible partners, the Curtis V. Cooper Primary Health Care Center, Healthy Savannah, the Front Porch, Kona Ice as well, our team, Savannah Recreation and Leisure Services, our Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, our Police Activities League, as well as our Office of Public Marketing and Public Affairs, and to Farrah Lawrence of the mayor's team. Just a lot of work went into this, and this was really a great example of what community looks like and what opportunity feels like. I would not be surprised if, 15, 20 years from now, some of these young people end up playing for the Savannah Bananas or playing for a Major League Baseball team. Grayson Stadium has had and hosted some of the best names in baseball. Do the research. Babe Ruth played in Grayson Stadium. Hank Aaron played in Grayson Stadium. Dale Murphy, Atlanta Braves great, played in Grayson Stadium. And so some of the new great names played in Grayson Stadium yesterday. So thank you, and thank you to our media partners for covering it. Our kids love being on TV. This past Saturday, our community exercised its constitutional right to peaceably protest, and they gathered in Thomas Square Park. We had over 2,000 people. The Savannah Police Department reported no violence and no damage to property. I want to thank everyone, and I thank Savannah, who recognized and understood what the assignment is, that we have a constitutional right for people to assemble peaceably and to air their grievances. But we have a responsibility as well to keep our community safe. And they did it in a way that was civil, passionate, and orderly. We can't say that all around the nation, but Savannah, again, showed America how to do it. We did make one arrest. Luviro, spelled L-U-V-R-I-O, Wilkerson, 24 years old, was arrested for wearing a mask to conceal identity and obstruction of law enforcement by fleeing. And of course, there was a brief incident involving a woman being temporarily detained for wearing a medical mask. A video of that interaction has been circulated online. I think we should make it clear, and I think the police did as well, she was not arrested. And after confirming that it was a medical mask, the Savannah Police Department released her. Incident commanders also clarified with officers that medical masks were indeed permitted. I think that for us, everybody was on high alert. We had already received information and intel about what had happened in Minnesota. I think also what the events that have happened across the nation. Everybody was on a heightened alert. As you know, wearing a mask generally is not permitted by Georgia law. And so once clarity was made that the mask was permitted, then of course the woman was not detained anymore, but she was not arrested. So we apologize that that occurred. However, in the interest of public safety, we have to make sure and sometimes take the extra step to make sure that everyone is safe. Beyond that, I received a lot of compliments about how our Savannah police handled the event and a very, very hot day here. And I appreciate not only Savannah Police, but Savannah Fire and our emergency services team for all that they did. We are a city that respects protest, but we also value order and safety. And we will defend and protect our country's constitutional rights to free speech and free assembly while ensuring the general safety of the public. We have to do both. We must do both. We will do both. And on Saturday, we did both. Also this week, I'm very pleased and proud to welcome leaders from across Georgia to the hostess city of the South as we host the Georgia Municipal Association's annual convention right here in beautiful Savannah. Savannah, Georgia has over 534 cities, and so hundreds of mayors, city council members, city officials, city managers from across Georgia gather here annually to learn and network and explore ways to better serve their communities, and there's no better backdrop than Savannah just to do that. I think it's fitting that the growth of Georgia comes back to the mother city of Georgia for rejuvenation, refreshing, and then going back out there to serve. From workshops to trainings to policy discussions and local showcases, the Georgia Municipal Association is a powerful opportunity to show what effective, forward-thinking local government looks like, and to remind folks why we are honored to serve as hosts, and really grateful to the GMA team for choosing us once again. So very busy weekend, a lot of folks around, and you will see folks coming to check out Savannah. And so as we always say, welcome to Savannah. Also, Savannah continues to grow, and that's good news for our city and for our taxpayers. We have gotten news from the Chatham County Board of Assessors that our taxable property digest grew by 8.8% this year, with over half of that growth coming from new development and improvements. So that means people are investing in our city. They're building new homes, and they're building new businesses, and they're strengthening our economy. Our economy continues to look and feel strong. And we recognize that. And because of the strong growth that we've experienced, the city manager has recommended, and I concur, that we lower our millage rate to 11.749 mils. So you've heard about people increasing rates. We want to drop our rates. Right now we're at 12.2, which is the lowest rate since 1987. We're going to go further, hopefully to 11.749 mils. This is known as the rollback rate. And so this will still get us to where we need to be in our 2025 budget, but also without increasing property taxes on existing homeowners. In fact, if approved, this will be even lower than our lowest tax rate of 12.2 mils, again, since 1987, which was before some of y'all were even here, certainly before y'all were working. We'll take up this recommendation with our first reading on June 26th, and the final adoption on July 10th. I think we might be able to do both on June the 26th. So I think it's good news. We'll be asking our residents to approve a special purpose local option sales tax later on this year. And so where we have the ability, when we're doing well, we need to share that wealth. And so I'm glad that the city is leading in that way. I've always said that if we need it, we're going to ask our residents to give it to us. They have done that. We've held the line when we had to, and now we see some opportunities to give back, and so the city of Savannah is planning on doing that. So yay, yay, yay. Hope we could do it again soon. Also on Thursday, I have the honor again of leading our second annual Juneteenth Walk to the River on this Thursday, June the 19th, and I'm hoping that everybody will join us. We'll be getting together at 8:30 a.m. From Wells Park and walking together as one community down Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, walking north and ending at the Savannah River in Martin Luther King Jr. Park. So this walk is powerful, it's purposeful, it's about community, it's about celebrating freedom, it's about honoring the history of our past, and certainly standing together as one and for one Savannah. I think it's important that Juneteenth is not Black history. Juneteenth is American history. Many of you know that when Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, that it took 2 years, because they didn't have Facebook, they didn't have X, they didn't have Truth Social, they didn't have Instagram, they didn't have a phone, they didn't have mail like we have it now. It took 2 years for that information to get from Washington, D.C. to the last stop in Galveston, Texas. Each state really has a date when that news came to them. Georgia has its own, but the last of those states was Texas, and the last city was Galveston. And so those folks found out. The interesting thing about it all is, think about it. People lived between 1863 and 1865 not knowing they were free. But they were free, but they didn't know they were free. And so we honor those folks as well. And while we are looking around the world at all these strange things going on, the crisis going on with Israel and Iran, the issues going on with Russia and Ukraine, we need a world that not only understands freedom and appreciates freedom, but also understands peace. And so here in Savannah, one community, regardless of what your race is, your political leanings, your ethnicity, your religious views, we're just walking together as one community. And so we'll have transportation for those with mobility needs or those who get tired, like me. We'll have transportation. We'll have hydration stations, and our police department will handle road closures. Our fire department will be giving out a lot of water. And so we ask your patience on the pavement as we walk to the river. Also, last week, the Savannah Police Department made several arrests on active investigations. On June the 11th, the Savannah Police Department arrested a 17-year-old juvenile in connection with a domestic homicide on Tibet Avenue. This investigation is ongoing in this tragic incident. On June the 14th, in connection with the West Congress Street shooting that occurred back in May, 19-year-old DeMonte Keon Anderson turned himself in to the police. On June the 16th, yesterday, officers made an arrest in a shooting that occurred on Geechee Road. Jaheim Scott, 19 years old, is also now in custody. Look at the ages. Look at the ages. I haven't seen anybody over 20 yet. And on the same day, yesterday, Savannah police responded to a separate non-fatal shooting in a 600 block of Crescent Drive involving a juvenile victim, and we continue to investigate this case. Also, on June the 16th, the Savannah Police Department held a badge pinning and promotion ceremony recognizing new officers and those moving up in leadership. It was a proud moment for our police and department and a reflection of our investments in strong professional public safety. So I want to thank the folks of the Savannah Police Department. We want to solve crime. We want to make sure that folks understand that crime is unacceptable here in our community. We also know that as the weather continues to be strange and funky, we received news that President Trump was considering eliminating FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, after this hurricane season. I will say to the President and to everyone else, that is so ill-advised, particularly for cities like Savannah. We recognize very clearly that states cannot handle these incidents. You need a coordinated federal response to address tragedies as they occur. We know when we have limited resources in states, the federal government has the ability to move resources from some states to other states. You have to have somebody that has a very clear eye on the entire field. And we know here in Georgia, when we've had several cities devastated, state resources are depleted quickly, and FEMA has been a wonderful way for us to be able to keep our eyes on the ball and for us to be able to address issues in other states. So if something was occurring in Florida, FEMA could help with resources in Georgia to help the folks in Florida. So same thing, if Georgia needs help, we can get help from Tennessee, and we can get help from Florida and from other states. So I hope that that is just a soundbite for the day or a distraction for the day, but certainly here in Savannah, we need FEMA. Earlier this year, the city manager's office launched Savannah GPS, which was our first strategic plan since 2007 and is our roadmap to a safer, stronger, more vibrant city. The plan was built with the input of our citizens, and now we are asking for one more final round of feedback before the comment period ends this Friday. We know folks will always complain on social media. Well, no, this is how you do it. Second reading and final adoption by City Council is scheduled to occur next Thursday. So if you got something to say, go ahead and say it that way so they can be incorporated into the plan. You can read the draft plan and you can share your thoughts at savannahga.gov/GPS, savannahga.gps. And as I mentioned earlier, it's hurricane season. Go ahead, get engaged, have a plan, make sure you're prepared. The weather is funky, it rains really quickly. We start having spot and flash flooding. Make sure your insurance is up. Summer starts this week. Get your stuff together, have a plan, have your stuff. Do like I did. Clean out all the outdated canned foods and get you some newer canned foods and being able to do that. Make sure you have batteries. Make sure you know where you will go if you had to go. Make sure you talk to the people whose house you want to show up to in another place. Make sure you have a way of getting your medication. Make sure you inventory everything in your homes. Make sure you have serial numbers of the things in your house. Make sure if you're a renter, you have renter's insurance. Make sure if you don't live in a flood zone, get flood insurance because it is economical to be able to do so, and it makes good sense. And to make sure you're prepared, sign up for local alerts from the Chatham Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, so you can sign up and get those alerts just as we get them. And to find out about other preparations, you can always go to ready.gov/hurricanes, ready.gov/hurricanes. So that is my prepared remarks. If you're joining us on social media, have questions, go ahead, and Mayor Johnson on Facebook and Instagram. Go ahead, add those to our live stream, and we will get to those. And we will go to our media partners, and there's nothing while I choke.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
I wanted to check with you about a dedication for Reverend Dr. Ralph Mark Gilbert tomorrow.
Yes.
If you could just talk about this recognition for him, who he was, and the significance behind it.
Dr. Ralph Mark Gilbert is widely considered to be the father of Savannah's civil rights movement. Pastor at the historic First African Baptist Church, a strong man in a time when strong men were needed, at great personal peril and professional peril to himself and his family, but was a minister of the gospel and stood on biblical principles as related to the social situation in the world at that time, and particularly the rights of people to be free and enjoy equity and parity. He was clearly ahead of his time, but we celebrate his legacy. As you know, we have a Civil Rights Museum named after him, and so this is another opportunity. I think for us, we have to do two things. As you know, I've gone really hard in the paint for making sure we recognize those that are living. because we want to make sure people understand their sacrifice to and for us. But then we have to also go back. And so here is another opportunity to expand on history. And so I'm looking forward for our city giving this civil rights icon his due. Thank you.
Mayor Johnson, how are you?
Yes, I'm well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I'm choking, but.
Yeah, well, take a sip of water. Yeah.
Well,
Well, last week in your press conference, you mentioned something about change in policy with Savannah Police's use of force policy.
Yes.
Last week there was a press conference with Chief Mike Gunther. He was mentioning those about the new citizens that are in place and the passwords that are being placed with this use of force policy. Do you think that this is going to be effective going down the line?
well, I mean, the reality was that was something that came from the CARES Task Force 5 years ago, and it didn't happen. It should have happened. I'm glad that it's happening now. I think that police officers, and I say that as a former one, sometimes we could also be in a echo chamber when we're all listening to ourselves and how we view things. I think it's also important to have the public at the table in terms of trusted community, people who can view things in a people context and offer some opinion. It does not necessarily change the final decision of the chief. However, it does allow the opportunity. Yes, ma'am. Come on. Thank you. Saved my life. Thank you. It does offer a better opportunity for context. Our chaplains corps are invaluable to us. They are not novices in ministry or in life. They are well-known, well-respected community leaders, and people trust them. And so I think that their input helps. And again, for us, we don't insist that we're right all of the time. And so I think the more input, the better. So I'm absolutely for it. I've insisted that that occur, and I'm glad that it is.
You've also mentioned in your remarks here about FEMA and President Trump possibly slashing FEMA here in the area and across the country. Are there backup plans in place in the event that FEMA would not be able to help out during hurricane season?
No, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, I don't know how we do that. I mean, I think that is the concern. The concern is, okay, well, the president's saying, well, we'll let it go to the states. But the states have different bearing capacities. If you are in North Dakota, you don't have to worry about hurricanes. Here, we worry about them, 6 months out of the year, every year. And so if you have a hurricane that comes from the Gulf, like we had 2 last year, that spends some time here, we know what happened last year in Valdosta. We know what happened in Augusta. Savannah certainly was in the path of that. If you have major cities that are affected in major ways and the state is responsible for all of them, then the state has a limited bearing capacity in being able to help. And so FEMA is really a catch-all to have someone kind of looking, as I said before, the entire field and being able to motivate and move resources to where they need to be. Could you imagine no FEMA during Katrina? If the state of Louisiana had to be solely responsible for taking care of what happened in their largest city. You just couldn't do it because there was just that much devastation. So I hope, again, that it was a soundbite of the day. I hope that he will allow cooler heads and those who live their lives at the brink of natural disasters annually to weigh in and understand that there are some roles for state governments, but there are some roles for federal government, and this is clearly something that the federal government needs to be involved and engaged in.
Now, Mayor Johnson.
Yes. Good.
All right, I wanted to ask if you knew anything about the fountain restoration. Can you tell us anything about that?
I do. This week, the fountain will be removed. The area around it will be cleared off. The fountain will go to somewhere in Alabama, where it will be restored, and then there will be significant work occurring on the site, bricks and the rod work for the iron for the gates, and we're hoping by the end of August the restoration will be complete. The fountain will come back, and then the rest of the renovation will occur on site. And so we're hoping by Labor Day our fountain is up and running again.
Has the city received any complaints from tourists on damages for the dilapidation done with the fountain, or?
What do you mean?
Okay. What damage has been done to the fountain?
Oh, it's not damage. It's just old. I mean, yeah, we haven't done any major renovation. I mean, the problem is, you think about it, in a city like Savannah, the fountain is running almost all year long. And people love it. It's very picturesque. I remember when we had the King and the Queen of the Netherlands here, they wanted to see the fountain, and we took a really nice picture in front of the fountain. But, you know, when you think about that much water, every year we turn it green. After a while, the works just, you know, and so for us, I would much rather us take it down, renovate it, put it back, than for it to break. And then everybody, well, why y'all should have known. Why y'all do regular maintenance on it? And it's always easier and cheaper to do maintenance on it than to fix it. And so I think this is a good time to do it. Believe it or not, our heaviest tourist season is not now. Is usually in the fall, followed by the spring. And so before people know it, we will have it back up and going. Thank you for that. Good morning.
So I did want to ask a little bit more about the use of force press conference that we had, also the video that you released out to media partners. Have you seen the video? What was your reaction to it? And did you listen to the press conference? What were your thoughts on what the chief said?
I did not see the entire tape, and I listened partially to the press conference. You know, at the end of the day, my insistence is that we are responsive and we're communicative. My frustration was that we were not as communicative as we could have been. There are statutory limitations, and when we should and when we could, as the chief said, respond to cases that are being actively investigated. Also in terms of issues or incidents when personnel is involved. However, we can say that. And I think you all will just understand that. I mean, your job is to ask. I just don't want our city to be one where we have nothing to say. I think we have the responsibility to either remind you of the policy, or remind you of the law, remind you of the constraints of which we're working. Again, there was a lot going on during that incident, and as many people could see, a lot of action, a lot of activity, and you know, for that, I want to make sure that the process works, and so the use of force was deemed to be what it was. Part of this process, and part of the reason why it takes so long, is because it requires a responsibility for there to be not only analysis and examination, but also for several odds and beyond it. And officers have the opportunity to appeal and have their appeals heard as well. There's another side of that as well in terms of the district attorney, which we don't have a part in. So it's a lot of moving parts. My goal is this, is that, and I've always said that as a former police officer, police officers have a hell of a hard job. It's a very difficult job. They have to make decisions within a split second that other folks get to drag out moment by moment, frame by frame, which is why the reasonable person standard, when you look at someone, what does a reasonable person see? You know, it may not be, but what does the officer see at that time, and would a reasonable person feel that way? We support our police officers. We support them 100%. I have said, and I'll say again, we have the finest police department on the face of the earth. But they're also human, and they also make mistakes. And so when that occurs, we have to address it, determine if it was an issue of training or an issue of neglect, determine whether it's addressed by training or by discipline or both, and then deal with that and own it. When our officers act appropriately, then we, this government, this mayor, this city should stand up and support them. And I've always said that even during the officer-involved shootings, which were very contentious. I mean, again, if it was found that the officer acted outside of policy, outside of the law, then we're going to hold that officer accountable. If the officer was deemed to act appropriately, then we want them to act appropriately. We will not have a cowboy state around here. We want every resident to be treated with dignity and respect and under the proper context of the law. And so we want our officers to protect the public. We also want them to protect themselves. And so back to the other issue is that, you know, a person has on a mask, you don't know really what they have going on until you ask. And so that's why I think that's, you know, important as well. It's always easier for people not wearing the uniform, not wearing the badge, watching on Facebook to say what somebody should have done. You know, again, we accept that for what it is, and we'll address it as appropriate. I stand behind my police department.
You also wanted to ask for reaction, if you've seen it, to Attorney General Chris Carr, who you know has also announced he's running for governor, criticized Savannah city leaders for, quote, being soft on crime in an op-ed piece in a Georgia newspaper. And you saw this yesterday. I wanted to get your reaction, if you would like to share one.
Yeah, I'm gonna share it. I mean, I'm like, so I think my first reaction was like, really? Of all the things you have to do, you're gonna sit in your ivory tower in Atlanta and throw stones at Savannah and call me out? So first of all, there is a remix tape coming back. I'm writing my response today. But don't make Savannah part of your political stuff. You're the Attorney General, and pick on somebody else. Don't pick on us. First of all, we're not going to stand for it. But secondly, what you're saying is absolutely not true. First of all, violent crime is down in Savannah 20% over 2024. So how are we soft on crime about that? Secondly, the city of Savannah in 2022, I think it was, we hired we hired an attorney who is a U.S. assistant, U.S. assistant attorney, a federal prosecutor we hired. She works for us, but she works with them to prosecute federal crimes that happen in Savannah. She's our employee. How is that being soft on crime? If we are arresting people and we're turning them over to a criminal justice system that can't hold them, then that's his issue to address as the top cop of the state. You know, and it's frustrating that rather than give solutions, you trying to hurt, you know. I mean, we had 200 guns stolen from unlocked cars. So Savannah, because we're not soft on crime, tried to do something about it. Well, rather than support, he wants to say it's unconstitutional, which is not, it's still in existence. But, you know, we're doing the best we can to be able to keep people safe with what we have. He supported the constitutional carry, which allows guns to be everywhere, guns that show up with babies who shoot themselves, guns that show up in hands of police officers who cannot determine the legality of the gun. That ties our police officers' hands. But yet, this is something that he supports. So the city of Savannah is doing everything we can with the power that we have to be able to keep people safe. And so he referenced about us changing business hours. Yes, we will. If we have to establish a curfew to keep people safe, if we have to limit our to-go cup zone to keep people safe, we will do it because he allowed guns to be everywhere. I mean, when somebody sent me that, I'm like, what is going on here? So I mean, you know, don't try to make your campaign. I mean, if this is, you should be trying to help cities, not criticizing them, because you're our Attorney General too. And so if you, I mean, if that's showing what kind of governor you're going to be, we'll pass. Period and poo. Hey,
Following up on something from
got me upset.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just, see, go ahead.
so the Vision 2033 initiative that council approved.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like that's an investment and a partnership the city needs to be involved in, and what do you hope will come?
Well, theoretically and philosophically, where there is no vision, the Bible says the people perish. You have to have some idea of where it is you want to go. And in Savannah, we say Savannah will be a safe, environmentally healthy, economically thriving community for all of our citizens. That is where we want to end up. 2033 is our 300th year. So the question is, where is it we want to go? And you always start with the end in mind. So here we are 8 years out from our tricentennial. Let us talk about the relationships and the partnerships that we want to see to address the problems we have now. We shouldn't wait till 2023 to start talking about it now. My only chagrin is that the school board is not involved. And I've asked, as you are familiar, that the school board be involved. There is no way you could talk about the vision of our community, you're not including public education. So I think that they need to be full partners at the table. We just approved $700 million for them. They need to find the money to be a part of this, although that money is not used for those types of things. But I think you can't really talk about vision without talking about the young people who are going to carry that vision. When you think about individuals who are in the 9th grade now, 8 years from now, they're in the workforce. So we have to, in my mind, not only the city, not only the county, not only CETA, the Economic Development Authority, not only businesses, but you have to have education as it relates to that. And so I'm hoping that they will consent to get on board and be a part of this initiative.
Can you speak to some of the issues you would like to be addressed in this process? Housing?
Oh, everything we're dealing with now. You know, housing is one. Transportation is another. Land use is another. Child care is another. The environment is another. And I can go on and on. Food security is another. Poverty reduction is another. I think there's just a lot of ways that things that we have to be able to look at. And you have to do it in a very, very thoughtful way, in a way that puts strategies and tactics in place to be able to address those things. I think Savannah is immensely better in 2025 than it was in 1965. I want Savannah to be better in 2033 than it is in 2025.
And so the city is in the process of doing its own strategic plan.
Yes.
How would something like Vision 2033 fit to that? Why do you need another plan?
Well, because Savannah GPS is a City of Savannah plan. We are, it is basically for our 106 square miles and our 150,000 residents. Recognizing that Savannah is a part of a county and the county is a part of a region, and Savannah is the driver of that region. We have to look at ourselves also as a regional hub, so therefore it requires the input of other partners. It requires us to be really more engaged in a more significant way. For a long time, we only thought about Savannah only, and that is really short-sighted. For us, we have to look at how we address this with our regional partners, other municipalities, and how we grow in ways to be able to make sense. We're talking about transportation. If transportation ends at the Savannah city line, that doesn't help our residents. it doesn't help people getting into the city. So we have to look at it all from a much stronger regional approach. Anything? Nothing? Wow. All right, well, it's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. So we're looking forward to everybody joining us on Thursday for Juneteenth. And it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a hot day. We're going to get in. We're going to walk this, and we're going to get out. But certainly, love on your family, and always be Savannah strong.